This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Hello, Deborah Johnson back with you today. I'm very happy to be back with you with this subject. What is a roundabout and a roundabout hero? Well, you may have never asked that question before, but hey, you're going to find out today. I'd like to remind you, as this airs, there's free sheet music and an MP3 available for Learn Music Again. Make sure you check out that website, learnmusicagain.com. It is for those who used to play that want to play again. I started a music membership for this purpose. I have heard so many share with me through the years that, I used to play, just would love to do that again, but they never do. They never start. Now is the time. It's actually so great for your memory, for your mind, and as a stress reliever to get back into your music. And there are a lot of great opportunities, especially in the VIP level, that I give you a piece of sheet music every month and a little, it's almost like a little mini course. But there are some free things you can download right away on that too. So make sure you check that out. And the card is open now this month again. And you can take advantage of that. So let's talk about this subject. What is a roundabout? You're going, yeah, I know what a roundabout is, but most do, and they're not asking that question. But in 1930, when the traffic circle was newly built in Long Beach, California, this particular roundabout was the first of its kind in the United States. And now, of course, we see many all around our country, and they're especially common in European countries. That's where I saw them first, actually. And when I was first learning to drive in high school, way back in driver training, we had to go on the traffic circle in Long Beach or that roundabout. And it held its challenges because you not only had to merge upon entering the circular street, but you had to decide where to get off while avoiding all of those other vehicles while merging at the same time. And when you're first learning to drive, it was very scary. I had a hard time getting off and figuring out where to go. It was kind of daunting. And, those simulators only show you so much. You just really have to do it. And recently, my husband and I had taken this trip to Washington State. And I had even driven on many and seen many roundabouts as I traveled quite a bit in some years previous when I was doing more touring, especially overseas. But I've noticed them recently even more, showing up in more and more locations in the United States. So when we were in Washington State, we unexpectedly entered a roundabout, and then we got off on the wrong exit. There were no clear signs to be had. So after turning around, I really realized that there were some great principles to be drawn from this little simple roundabout that apply to both life and business. And so I started down my quest to be able to identify those little principles to be able to help others when they feel like they are circling. And these little principles are not rocket science. They're simple. But when they're applied, they can help you reinvent, restart, and even transform your life and your business. And these little 3 principles, very logical. You have to get on, you have to begin, you have to start. And second, you want to look at your roundabout from an elevated point of view or a different perspective. And then number 3, you want to create a strong why that will fuel your exit with purpose. And all 3 of those are extremely important. There's other little steps inside of those, but those are the basics in getting on an elevated point of view and then getting off. If we had had that little elevated point of view, we would have clearly seen where that roundabout was taking us, and it wasn't clearly marked. So we want to clearly mark where we are going on our roundabout. And these little roundabouts, as I equate them with life, they don't just happen once, of course, in a lifetime. And there are many that feel like they're continually circling, especially now. We have recently, as I'm recording this, I'm recording it at the end of this year, 2020, and we have recently gone through this pandemic and, a huge upheaval. And this is the word that I hear a lot said by some of my colleagues and people that I work with, even some of my clients, that they're continually circling. And it just feels like, okay, I'm working hard, but am I going anywhere? And anyone in business can understand that feeling. I know what that feeling feels like. I know what it feels like to reinvent my life. I've been in the gig economy for a very long time, and I know what it's like to feel that your last gig is your last gig. What are you going to do now? You have to keep pressing ahead, circling. But this year, it was like no other. Life has changed, forever changed in many, many ways. And even though there was a major shift in our economy with government shutdowns and isolation and really doing pretty much everything virtual, including even visiting with family, it was very tough. But there's also a lot of opportunity to be had if you stay open to that opportunity. Sometimes it's just really hard to see that. Now, if we study some of our history, this is why history is so important. And we can see that many large businesses were started during shutdowns or during Depression time. Main big businesses that were able to grow. And you just have to be very creative and have a very, very good plan and not be afraid to risk as well. That's a big part of this. And risk is, it's a big obstacle for many. In fact, it's the confidence. Confidence is our number one obstacle, especially at the halftime of life, and it keeps people from taking risks. It's tough. And if you might be one of those people. Many corporations go through multiple roundabouts if we see their history because the market changes. It just does. Supply and demand, we see that different. And we see what supply and demand has been during this recent shutdown. I know those that have had a certain type of businesses, also all of a sudden they are making masks and hand sanitizer. I know one distillery that was doing that. They're set up for it. They're set up with the big tanks that they can heat them up and make that hand sanitizer. They're able to get the type of ingredients. It's already in their, they can already order it. They already have the sources for that. So they had to shift here because the market totally changed. Products are commoditized. This happens a lot. You look at the number of toothpastes we have that, this is the better tasting. This will get your teeth whiter. Well, how many are now on their product shelves, and then the price keeps going down in sales? Also, plateaus are reached in many corporations, and they feel like, okay, what do we do next? What do we do now? That's another little roundabout where they have to look at their steps in where to go. Needed to look at their circle where they're once again beginning and look at that, at all of the facts from that elevated point of view, and then being able to go through those steps again. So, and as you go through those three simple principles, it will help almost anyone in life or in business navigate your roundabout, no matter what stage. So we're going to talk about those principles today briefly, touch on those with a couple illustrations. And I hope this really helps you because as this airs, we are still in the first quarter of 2021. And there, I plan my schedule, my business schedule quarterly. I go through 90-day sections. And if you were at my Planning Your 2021 webinar, you know that that's how I sort of group my year together, similar to many businesses. It works because you can work backwards with your promotional calendars and your courses, everything else, and also booking. So as you look at your new year, as you are in this first quarter, this is a perfect time to be able to look at these 3 principles. So the first principle is to begin on your roundabout. You have to get on the roundabout. And this takes a mindset to be able to do this. Lindsey Vonn, she was a 4-time World Gold Cup winner. And actually, she's the first American woman to win Olympic gold in the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. She was, downhill skier, rated the second highest in the super category for both men and women. I mean, this was a lifelong thing that she was pursuing, and she was very good. But when she decided to retire from competition due to so many injuries, she had to get on her roundabout. It was going to be different for her. And this is what she thought. She thought she just needed to pivot and change course because, I mean, she had watched, trained so hard and really watched her diet. And now, because she's going to be in a different area, a different field, well, she wasn't going to have to diet or train as a competitive downhill skier. But it was harder than she thought because what went away was the adrenaline rush. She was working with that team. She was, she was against all of those. She was competing against not only herself, but against others and constantly having that sort of mental mindset. And this was a lot harder with that adrenaline rush being gone. And so she found herself circling around and round, asking, okay, what do I do next? And you might feel that same way, especially if you had this business that you were working together with a team. And that adrenaline rush that you get by being together and that camaraderie feel, there's only so much you can get on these Zoom calls. It's just different. I mean, how many of you are feeling like I was feeling, like I just needed a hug? I needed some, just to rub shoulders with some people, be inspired by people being next to me. And I realized even as an introvert, how much I really, really missed that when we don't have it all of a sudden. So you might be feeling that same adrenaline is kind of gone. Like, what do you do now? How do you get that back? And is it worth it? I mean, is it really worth just really going for that when you feel like, well, things have changed so much, maybe I should just quit? And that's really a mental decision at this point, because our first step, of course, is that you have to get onto your roundabout. You can't quit. But to keep from endless circling, you can't keep those same mindsets if you are feeling like, okay, you're not good enough, your time has passed, like you're too old. Okay, if you have to go into a different field, I'm just not tech savvy enough. I'm just, I have a hard time. And, I got on Zoom, I did everything, but, it's just so hard. And, all of those thoughts, they will keep you just circling, just keep circling. And there are ways now, I've seen so many companies and software solutions that are providing easier and easier ways for people not to have to work so much directly with the tech. And that's been a great market for them. Absolutely wonderful market. You have to usually pay for it, but they are fulfilling a need because people are just scared of a lot of that. But you look at online courses this way. I love Digital Access Pass, DAP. I've been with them for a number of years. They provide so many things that not only membership, but now LMS, which is your learning management platform. And the cost per year is just so worth it. It's so much less than anything else. And I'm able to do a lot of my lead magnets, everything through that. But there are other systems like LMS systems that provide more for you. But you have to realize there are still technical challenges to be dealing with. There are great platforms like Thinkific, like Kajabi, all of those, but some of those you just pay monthly no matter what. Doesn't matter if you sell anything, doesn't matter. And you keep adding on extra, if you do multiple courses, you keep adding on extra fees. I just didn't want that. I wanted one platform that I could put everything on. So there are these other companies that will provide those ways for you to get around this. You just have to decide that you are going to do this with a change of mindset so you can move ahead with the type of risks necessary to keep you moving. So that's the first step of your roundabout, is getting on and getting around some of those mindsets. Because if those same mindsets, if you keep thinking the same way, it's going to get you nowhere. You'll feel like that little hamster in that little wheel, circling on that sort of wheel. So getting beyond that and saying, I can do this. It's not easy, but you can do this. And moving ahead to step 2 will really help you as well, is getting a different perspective, because you can get help with this step, and it will help you even in your first step. From an elevated point of view, your roundabout looks entirely different. If we had that elevated point of view, of course, in our little Washington State roundabout, we would have known that we got off on the wrong street. And you can see the exits and a clear path out of the circle. So how do you get this perspective? Well, you can hire a coach, you can hire a guide, and that's very helpful. Finding the right kind of guide will save you money, it will save you time, it will save you stress and energy. But you can also learn to stand back and look objectively at what you already have. Now, this is very important before even going into a program. There are a lot of programs out there. I tell you, I see more and more people are touting themselves as, as coaches and as life coaches, and it's great. It's wonderful. They've got all these certifications, but what is really, really going to help you? You want to make sure the person that's going to help you is also able to share part of their life experience and show you the messy things as well. And that's really what I do in my programs. I take you behind the scenes, because you've got to know what's involved to be able to meet your challenges objectively with the mindsets to say, you know what, I saw how this looks and I know there's a way out of this. So that's a very important part of it in knowing how to approach different areas. So in this second step, what you want to do from that elevated point of view is to evaluate your present skill set and your experience. This is very important. And you'll probably find that you have much more than you thought. And the skills we discount are usually those that aren't seen, such as those soft skills. There's a lot of talk today about those soft skills. But really, you want to affirm those in your life. That negotiating, the consulting, the project planning, creating calm in the midst of crisis. Wow, what a great one. But all of those areas that are not just readily seen. It's not like, you were doing this task of computer programming or doing this task of writing a song or doing, creating the course and doing those sort of things. But that persistence and those sort of qualities that help you get those things done, those are extremely valuable. And a lot of times that comes with perseverance and experience. So you don't want to discount that at all. They are extremely, extremely valuable, especially when we are facing reinvention. So after you evaluate and affirm what you or your business has, then you can see some of those areas that really do need growth. And this is where your professional development enters, as well as coaching and consulting. And I want to affirm here once again that it's well worth the investment to get help in providing a clear path of success. The program that I started this year, goes from February until June, was one that put added accountability. Instead of just doing a weekend event that I had planned and were on the schedule in the past, a live event, I decided to put together a 5-month program that would help people move ahead even more successfully with the accountability and the connection that they need. And because people don't get where they want to go after just a weekend. How many weekend events have you gone to and you've taken notes and you walk away from it and you think, oh, okay, I got it and I'm going to get back to this. And a year later, you're going, oh, where were those? Ooh, there were some things I wanted to apply. And then you're on to the next thing. That happens so often. So I wanted to provide a program that would provide that continuous help all the way through. And the next one will be mid-year, so stay tuned for that. So, but those are the first 2 steps. Now let's talk about the third. The first, of course, is to get on, and the second is to have that elevated point of view perspective. And number 3 is your purpose, and to create a stronger why. And when you're stuck circling, even when you feel like, okay, I've evaluated my skills, I've evaluated where I'm at, all of this area, but you might be devoid of really that clear purpose. And it may feel like your why, why you're doing all of this, has been stolen. If you've had a restaurant during COVID-19, you've faced multiple shutdowns. In fact, the restaurants, I feel for you. If you are listening to this and you've had a business like that's been a very, very, very tough road for you. And those near to us, they've erected large tents and spaces for safe social distancing, to find that even those outdoor spaces were shut down by the state. And there was another time that we had strong winds, and the winds blew those large tents down. I mean, what do? You just keep thinking, okay, I've done this. I've got this clear direction. Now I'm going to provide this service still, and we just want to provide an experience. So in eating, and it's not working. So, but there's no quick and easy answers for those businesses. The ability to transform a menu that's basically a takeout, especially if you were fine dining, it's what some have done. I've known a fine dining place that all of a sudden they started doing the French fries and other products that people just wanted very quickly, but they wanted a little bit more of a gourmet feel to them. Meal delivery. I've heard of some of those restaurants that have used their wait staff as the drivers. That was another really innovative idea. I don't know what the cash flow is for those and how it's measured up, but also coming up with multiple streams of income that can keep the doors open. That's you have to do that in almost every business today. And that's what COVID-19 has really taught us. For those used to just doing live events, those totally shut down. And you have to go virtual. Well, it's never going to go back, I don't feel, to a completely live event. I think this has opened up opportunity to do virtual, but it's challenging in many ways to also do virtual. If you were in any performance field, I've been in the music field, and that's challenging, especially if you are on any acoustic instrument. And if you are by yourself and you're trying to do virtual events such as a Facebook Live or a Zoom, some sort of webinar using some of those instruments, there are multiple tests I have had to do of just recording to make sure the sound is okay. If you are a speaker, which I'm also but making sure your atmosphere looks good all around you and that your microphone's picking up correctly. What if you usually use PowerPoint and the brightness of the screen just, it washes you out? There are all sorts of these technical aspects if you are in any sort of performance, but you have to keep the purpose and change it around a little bit. I've decided to use a lot less PowerPoint and a lot more of that person to person feel. I want to be able to stand so I'm presenting, so I can still feel like I can step up to the camera and I'm not just behind a computer screen. And I think that really helps. It helps me when I'm listening to others, like, oh, I'm a little bit more like they're into that room. Being creative, it pushes all of us to be able to do this. But I've had to keep my why or my purpose. It's essential for all of this because I want to keep helping people through this process. And that's kept me going, and it will keep you going too if you have that very, very strong why and purpose, because that will keep you from spinning endlessly. And in that roundabout, I have put the principles for our hero mountain, and that's why I call it the Roundabout Hero, is that there are these areas such as your mindset, your skills, your competency, relationships, and your habits, along with your purpose. All of those are tools and that we approach in being a real roundabout hero. And they're all very, very important. But they're all within these 3 little steps of getting onto your roundabout, an elevated point of view, and then a strong purpose, because that's the last thing. Your mindsets will help you get on, and your purpose will help you get off. So, and all of the other things that are in between really help you be more successful. After the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, here is my illustration of going through a roundabout, because I'd already been through a roundabout in creating my music shows after raising my family and feeling like I wanted to be able to start doing some more touring and doing stage work. But I hit a roundabout when my large music headline shows, they canceled or they weren't booking. This was that time when many felt that 2008-9, it was a tough time. But this is when I studied the market, I found that corporations were canceling more headline music acts than speakers. Aha! I wonder what's involved in becoming a keynote speaker, especially on a headline stage, or not headline stage, but a main stage to create almost like a headline show. But I thought I could wanting to be a keynote speaker, a thought leader, and an author, but I could also incorporate the other skills that I had gained from being a professional musician, a composer, and an entertainer. So all of those started coming into play. And I have spent this last year, when we did a lot of those shutdowns, even working on a brand new keynote, because I felt like I needed to solidify a message called the Hero Inside that would even be more impactful for the years to come, because there are so many that have faced just this complete shutdown, and they're spinning, they're circling, and circling. So look carefully at your options, whether you've lost a job, whether you're entering a new career after raising a family, or even if you're at the halftime of life, and focus on these 3 main principles of your roundabout: getting on, an elevated point of view, and creating a stronger why with a purpose to get off, and do the work necessary. It does take work. Emotionally, you have to be willing to do the work. I can't tell you the hours and hours and hours and the number of repetitions in not only creating a music show, but also creating a keynote speech that it takes. In fact, it's never really done. And having that sort of mindset really helps me in moving me and inspiring me, keeping me moving ahead. I do get the help. I pay for good professional help in my career, and I encourage you to do the same. It is very, very worth it to be able to move you ahead in your life and in your career. And I encourage you to do that. I'm going to end with this little interesting note here. Because roundabouts, they seem more dangerous. In fact, when I was getting onto those roundabouts, I would always comment, these are so dangerous. Look at this. Look at all these cars coming. But statistically, they're actually safer. they reduce the type of crashes where people are seriously injured or killed by 78 to 82%. Now, that was very surprising to me. And then I thought, I wonder how many people are still circling to keep those statistics where they are. And I hope you are not one of them. So don't let that happen to you. So I hope you've enjoyed this. This is a really fun episode for me. Of course, I just think the Roundabout Hero is a great goal for many to have, because you are going to hit multiple roundabouts. It's just what life is. It just holds a lot of different changes. Don't be afraid of them. Meet them with an open mind. So now next week, you want to make sure you tune in. One of the requests for a topic that I have had is helping your kids. How do you help your kids and guide them along in choosing a life mate? Well, in talking with my husband, we are both on next week. That's a tough one. We thought this would be better to help your kids make crucial life choices. But we do talk about choosing a mate in there. And I think you will really enjoy the approach we took, because it is so valuable. We have been on both ends, of course, raising from small kids, babies, all the way through to launching adults. And we understand these different stages. And I wish there was more of a guidebook when we were starting. It was like, okay, what do we do now? What do we do now? You just don't see a lot of those things coming. And I wish we had a podcast like the one that we have just, that we are putting out. And so I hope you tune in. It's a really great episode. And that you listen to the whole thing. There'll be an article that also accompanies it. So make sure that you check that out. If you've enjoyed listening, I do encourage you to, of course, subscribe and even write a review. Just really appreciate those, and to share it with others around. And I love the podcast sort of platform. It's just so much fun for me. It's in my wheelhouse, of course, recording, but it's just a lot of fun to bring you something new every single week in a creative way. And you can always reach me in any of my websites, in womenathalftime.com, in goalsforyourlife.com. I've got a number of websites, but you can reach me in any of those. And I will look forward to hearing from you, and also to being back with you next week. So this is Deborah Johnson signing off. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson signing off.